Hi, my name is Atypical Student, and I go to one of the many institutions of higher learning here in the States. And you know what? I'm so skinny because I can only eat macaroni and cheese. That's all I can afford. It is just getting too expensive to go to university or colleges in the States. And you know what? The government must contribute and increase funding, because if they don't, we will get further behind in the world economies. We need people who are educated. We need people who are trained. You take a look at the job statistics. We need people who will compete globally. Where is this? We need money from the federal government to make access to education better. Maybe I'll go talk to some of those people in, where is that place again? Ah, yes, right. Washington. I'll go talk to the. I like this Washington place. I think I'm going to take a look at Secretary Spelling's office. See what she has to say about making colleges affordable. This was a video clip taken from February 2nd, 2007.
The president has called for the largest increase in the Pell Grant in about 30 years, literally going from about $4,000 today to $4,600 next year, and then phasing into a maximum grant of $5,400 over the next 5 years, which is very, very essential. I think every American family worries about affordability in higher education, and then that's particularly true, of course, for our poor families. College education is becoming more and more of a must-have, not a nice-to-have, and so it's very essential that we provide that kind of financial support to poor families.
After her interview, Secretary Spellings invited me back to her office. When I was in her office, she said that I could call her Margaret. When we were there, she handed to me this particular document that had been written a little while ago. It was called the Action Plan for Higher Education, Improving Accessibility, Affordability, and Accountability. 3 things that would have a big impact not only for me, but for post-secondary institutions as well. Accessibility. Is higher education in the States accessible to everybody? Let's take a look at what the facts and findings reveal. Accessibility for higher education in the States. There's a lot to consider. Everywhere from are we prepared to the diverse makeup of the various minorities that are trying to get into it. I didn't realize it was that difficult for certain groups to get into higher education. What about affordability? That's a big factor for me because I'm finding it very expensive. So let's take a look at some of the facts and findings concerning the affordability of higher education in the States. Affordability. Yikes! It's getting expensive to go to school. And on top of that, various agencies are funding it at even lower and lower rates. I'm taking on even a greater debt. This is going to prevent me from completing a 4-year program. I might have to take 6 years to complete a 4-year program just because of the debt I'm taking on. What about accountability? Aha! I think Margaret really liked this area because I think she wants to be able to hold institutions to a much higher degree of accountability. Are there programs training people for what they really need to do? This looks a little bit like No Child Left Behind. Let's take a look at some of the things that they're talking about in accountability. I can see why Margaret is concerned about accountability. We need to do something about those numbers because those numbers reflect that higher education needs to be more accountable. I bet you No Child Left Behind. I wonder if the same type of accountability is going to be applied now on to higher education institutions. I bet you they won't like that. Well, at the end of my interview, I thanked her. And as I was walking out the door, she decided that she would hand me this latest document that has just been created. Whoa, 70 pages. I bet you this is the type of stuff that some professor in education would assign their doctoral students to take a look at. Well, after my meeting with Margaret, I said goodbye, and she said thank you for coming all the way to Washington to talk to her about it. She wished that more people would be talking about the impact that accountability, affordability, and accessibility has on higher education. So I guess I better go back to Newburgh now. But in reflection, I have to be careful because, deep down inside, this scares me.